For those that wasn't on your shuttle, hi, I'm Tiffany Talbert with the National Trust for Historic Preservation in their Chicago office. And I have the pleasure of serving as the project manager for the Nina Simone National Treasure campaign. And so we're going to be doing a guided tour of the house. We also have Nancy Tinker with the National Trust in our Atlanta office. And is Ted still around, or did he? Is Ted still here?
No, he's gone.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll be here to answer your questions and let you see the house. So let's just move up. We're also kind of running from bees. So if you see me freak out, because I'm having a little PTSD from yesterday, you know, don't follow me. Just be like, she's getting away from the bees. But it's fine. Come on, let's go.
Why is she kind of freaking out?
Bees.
She might have gotten stung.
I did get stung. So. I do.
We're trust parents here.
Oh, there you go. Yay!
Don't tell them that we met you.
So I'll talk a little bit about the structure of the house, and then I know you all didn't get the background on that other shuttle, so I'll do that later just so the others can get it. So we are here at the house. As I said, the artists that have purchased it, they purchased it from the former owner who did start the rehab of the house. He did invest about $100,000 in starting to stabilize it, but then ran into financial difficulties, and so the artist in New York formed an LLC and stepped in to purchase the home, and they purchased it last year for $95,000. Some of the work that the former owner did of the house is more based on, a lot of what you'll see is on the foundation. So this is a new brick pier foundation with concrete fitting underneath to support. Underneath you can see that the floor joists and those supports, that wood has been replaced, so that's all new. So it's pretty sturdy and secure. We do have a historic photo of a family member posing, probably right about where you're standing, and we can see the house. He actually was kind of like that. We can see the house in the background, and so we can see the original foundation, which was brick pier, or it looked like it might have been kind of stone, fieldstone, but it was lower, so there's evidence that the house is raised higher than it initially was. The house also was covered with more maybe like an asbestos shingle or some sort of composite siding, and he removed all that, so we see the wood siding now. He did put in some new custom wood windows as well. The house had an addition built onto the back, which did contain a bathroom and another room. That was torn off, so the profile of the house that you see right now is how it would have been when Nina Simone lived here.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I can't remember his name. I think I know the artist, but they lived here for a while, right?
No, they did not.
They did not?
No,
Okay.
they're still New York based, and yeah.
But I'm saying the previous owner.
No.
He didn't?
No.
Okay.
It's been vacant for about 20 years. It has not been used as a residence for 20 years. So, and before that, it was rental property. And Nina Simone's family, they did not own this house. They rented it. Okay, so they moved to Tryon in 1929. They did not move to this house. They moved to another house that burned down, and then they moved to this house. And she was born in 1933 here in Tryon. Her sister, who has joined us here for this event today, was here this morning. She was not born in the house. At that time, they had moved from this house, and she lives in. She was born in a hospital, but she told us that it's this room right here where Nina was born, on her birth certificate, it just simply says at home, you know, for the location of her birth. So that's what we have right now. We are, as part of the National Treasure campaign, we are doing a National Register of Historic Places nomination. So we have a consultant that's researching and writing that. And so we hope that we'll be able to solidify more of those dates once, you know, you're looking at those primary documents and resources and things like that. So we will go in, and you can see it again. It's about 650 square feet, 3 rooms, no central hallway. All the rooms lead to each other. Again, that addition was taken off on the back, so the original house never had plumbing, and it still does not, so there's no bathroom. There is evidence of electrical in there, but we're not sure exactly when that was added in. Okay?
How many children grew up in this house?
I'm not sure. They had a total of 8 children.
Okay.
That's the sister who's here, and I think she said her brother.
She's the youngest.
Yeah, they were not. They were born at a hospital, so
Okay.
I'm saying 5 or 6 might have been here.
What number was Nina?
I think she was 7. No, she was like 6. Yeah, 5 or 6. Don't quote me on that because I don't have that in my. Sorry, but it's there. Yeah.
Sure.
And her sister told us that 2 of the brothers are living there in their 90s though, but they're in California. One is in assisted living, the other is in his own home. And then there's her. Her parents, her mother passed in 2001, her father in 1972, and they are buried in Good Shepherd Episcopal Cemetery, which is not far from here. So Nina did come back because she still has family, and there are other Wayman families still around in the area, so there is a connection.
How old was she when she passed?
She would have been 85 this year. She passed in 2003. Yeah, it was 2 years after her mother passed, so she would have been 70. Thank you. Oh my God, a B. Wow. So yeah. So there. Okay, so I don't see a B. So if y'all want to go inside and look at it, it's, you know, again, 3 rooms, but so it's not great. Over here is where the family garden would have been, and we do believe also an outhouse. The whole site itself is about 1/4 of an acre of land. So well, I can tell you all about the National Treasure process, but y'all don't want to stand in the sun to hear that.
Yeah, we want to get.
Okay. It's still hot in the house, but it might be shady. Just walk to the left. That's just kind of a soft spot right there. So the furnishings in here are not from Simone's family. This is from the former owner who was rehabbing it as a museum. So he started collecting period style furniture for staging. So it's not family heirlooms or anything like that. So again, we have 3 rooms. This would have been the main living as well as kitchen area. Right behind this wall is a chimney where the stove would have been. We do know there was a piano. Her mother was not a fan of her playing secular music, but her father didn't mind, so her mother wasn't here. He would let her play piano and play things that were not only religious. If you saw St. Luke's CME right here on the corner, that's a house. That was the church where her mother also preached, and she did start playing piano. That's not the original church. The original church was a wood frame church. That one, I believe, was rebuilt in the 60s and 30s, but it's still active. Because the former owner, he put more attention into the foundation. He really did not do a lot of work on this interior structure. You can see there's a lot of water damage in this corner here, so that's more.
Does he really?
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't shake, but there are, yeah.
This reminds me of my grandparents.
Yeah. So you see here. Now, part of the National Treasure campaign, what we will be doing over the 18 months, the artist that purchased it really did it as a preemptive move to save it. They know that they're not preservationists and they don't have the expertise for that. And so they approached the National Trust for Historic Preservation to ask for assistance in developing what is the future. Developing the future of the home. And so they've asked us to do 4 things, and that's how we align the campaign and our objectives. One is to look at the condition and develop a rehabilitation plan for the structure and those costs and numbers. The other is also a sustainable use for the site, and that will align with what the rehab of the structure is and those numbers. They've also asked us to look at future stewardship and ownership models for it. They are fine owning it, but they don't intend to own it forever, so to bring them recommendations on how this can be maintained and owned in the future. And then protection, which would be how do we save the physical structure? So is that zoning by the town of Tryon? Is that a preservation easement donation to another entity? Those things. So we'll be working over 18 months to develop those recommendations based on the data and the research and expertise, present that to them, and then they'll make a decision on what suits them best. They do know that they wanted to definitely incorporate the arts because they are artists and because of who Nina Simone is. So we definitely are building partnerships and relationships with the artist community and those experts to see, how that can meld in preservation.
Have you ever had a partnership like this before with visual artists? Because I've heard of like organizations and nonprofits, but that's why I'm so interested.
We have in one of our projects out in California, we have one of our historic sites. We worked with other entities to do an artist in residency program. So we have started to better align the artist community with preservation, and so this is another model of how we can do that. And so yeah, so we have had some experience in other parts of the country with that sort of model. So people always say, like, what is it going to be? And I say, right now everything is on the table because the data hasn't shown me that it shouldn't be on the table. So it's an opportunity for us to really explore. So there are no preconceived notions. So if you have your story cards, as you're looking around, you get inspired and you say, hey, what about this? You know, do share that. We also want the campaign to engage with the local community, the neighborhood, the town, the state. So they're aware of what the project is going on, and we get, you know, comments and feedback and engagement, so that we're not saying this is what it's going to be. We're just bringing in the expertise to lay the information on the table for the community to, and the owners to say yes.
What's the demographics of the neighborhood?
It's still a primarily African American neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now,
because the church is there.
Yeah,
church is
yeah, the church there.
Right.
Habitat for
It just
Humanity
feels
is
like
building
that.
some new houses right up here on the cul-de-sac.
That's
You can see.
cool.
So it still is an active community. It's not, you know, it's a stable community. It's not, you know,
At risk.
right. So. The one thing, and you know, talking to partners as we were leading up to launch was also to say, you know, we are not going to propose anything that's counter to the vision of the neighborhood. So we're not going to say we want to get 300,000 people to this house a year, because the neighborhood's not conducive to that. Even for these tours, we were like, we can't have individual people driving to the house for these tours, so we have to have shuttles because we want to be respectful of the neighborhood. So, and they appreciate that, and so I think they're aware of the house. You know, it's here. You know, nobody bothers it. You know, nobody messes with it. So, you know, they're very respectful.
What was the article in the New York Times about?
That was announcing the launch, like us designating it a national treasure.
Okay.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Oh, so our National Treasure Program is, they already heard this, they're like, the National Treasure Program is the National Trust for Historic Preservations. That's our signature advocacy program, and it's where we partner with local organization, property owners, entities to take direct action to save places of significance in the country. So this is the newest one in our portfolio. I'll be serving as project manager with our project team over the next 18 months. We have a team of people. We have a preservation architect. Our Houston office is doing the conditions assessment and rehab study of it. I'll be looking at more of the protection strategy and the use and what partnerships are needed, and those that are willing. We have a great marketing outreach team which helps to get the story out there, to get people engaged in it, and you know, outreach events, you know, what we can do there. So we have a really great team of people really all over the country, from Houston to DC, that are on that team that will be working on this over the next 18 months.
Is there currently any funding set up now? Or is
so initially it's been funded by our new African American Cultural Heritage Action Fund, which we announced last November, and if you see Front Legs, who's the director of that fund, so that is funding our initial planning process and consultants and things of what we'll be doing for the next 18 months. We're also in partnership with World Monuments Fund in New York, who have volunteered to lead the fundraising portion of it. They are all over the world, a very reputable organization, very interested in Nina Simone and her legacy, and they are really generously agreeing to use their donor network to develop funding for this project. All we have to do is tell them what they're fundraising for, you know, so they're kind of waiting at the trigger, but we have to bring them the actual number and, you know, something substantial that they can take to their donors. So the reason I say a lot of our national treasures, they're different things. Some of them are very endangered resource. It's an advocacy, you know, we're going toe to toe with the powers that be. There's a threat. There are also opportunities. This is an opportunity, you know. It's been somewhat, we gotta go. Me too. It's been somewhat saved, but we have a great opportunity to do something really phenomenal, and hopefully something that can be implemented in other projects around the country. So it's a very exciting thing.
Can you tell us some of the suggestions that have been made?
You know, some is keep it residential with some interpretation on the grounds. You know, artist retreat.
Project Row House in Houston.
I heard of it, but you know, a lot of people have said, you know, obviously museum, and I'm like, you know, but something with art. The majority of it has been some sort of artist retreat. You know, short-term lease. You know, where it's still used residentially, but it's a place to inspire people that they can come to, you know, if maybe they're recording or they're working on a book or, you know, or something like that. You know, Tryon is accessible, it's economically thriving, so you can still feel like you're tucked away, but you're still connected. So, so we'll look at the market and like what operational model needs to be in place if that was it. So we're at that. In my head as project managers that we would have 3 or 4 scenarios of how this could look to present to the artist, and how we get there. I will figure out tomorrow because I spent so much time planning this launch over the last couple of months, and it was like a few weeks ago. I was like, oh crap, I actually got to do some work to get past this point. So I started mapping out, you know, for the people on my team, like this is the information I need from you so I can talk to this entity, because there are some entities that are reaching out to us because they want to be involved, but we haven't had that one-on-one conversation to see about feasibility and things like that. So that's kind of what that is what we'll be doing over the next couple of months.
You will put in central heat, right? Air conditioning.
Central heat, air conditioning, bathroom,
lemonade.
Yeah. And when we talk, and that's when we talk about the use is that, and the rehab numbers is, based on that use, you know, bringing it up to code, modern amenities,
right.
You know, can that be contained in this structure as it exists, or is there some alteration there? So when we narrow down the use, you know, we can build on the rehab plan until what's needed there. Again, the whole site is a 1/4 acre, so we do have, you know, room to do other things. I'm not saying we're going to build a huge addition or anything, but I'm just saying there's some flexibility there.
Right.
But again, we want to make sure the use is sustainable and is respectful of the historic structure, and so how we get to, you know, common ground on that will be interesting to see as we work over the next couple of months.
Has the public response level of interest been good?
Oh yeah, good. Even just the media attention, you know, even for this, just you know, the tour sold out, the concert, you know, people calling. Thank God Erica's handling the media and press and public affairs, you know, because first we were like, oh yay, the New York Times wants to do an exclusive, and then next thing you know, yesterday the Guardian in London is calling for an interview, you know, so it's international. So some really good press for the National Trust for Historic Preservation. Definitely good for our African American Heritage Action Fund, and it's also showing that, again, the hashtag for African American Cultural Heritage Action Fund is tell the full story. So, you know, not all history is ornate, built more, you know, that there are very significant places that have a very strong cultural connection that's relevant to many diverse groups of people, and we can band together to save them. And so that's what we're doing. And so this will be a great model for that.
Would you mind giving your name and contact info?
Well, my name is Tiffany Talbert. I'm a field officer in the Chicago office of the National Trust for Historic Preservation. My email is ttalbert@savingplaces.org. But if you want to get signed up for updates on the campaign, look on your story cards. Go to our website, the Nina Simone Treasure page. You can enter your information and say, I want to be updated when there are updates, or what's going on, or how can I participate. And so you can follow along the progress of our campaign. You can also share your ideas. If you don't turn in your story card, you can submit it online through that form there. And hashtag, tweet it, do everything you can, social media, play it up, all the stuff. Tell the full story, hashtag. So, yeah. And support what we're doing with Action Fund.
And can you also speak to what UNCA's involvement is?
Well, University of North Carolina Asheville has one great project partner. They've given us the shuttles for the day. Dr. Darren Waters really arranged that. And they're one of those. Yeah. And they're one of those partners that reached out to say, we want to be involved. And so we'll be having conversations with them directly over the next months to say, what does your long-term involvement look like? What are you willing to do? So, you know, just like the African American Heritage Commission, North Carolina Arts Council, UNC Asheville, these are entities that did reach out to us directly and say, this is something we want to be a part of. How can we help? So, again, that's when we talk about opportunity. So, yeah. So, we love North Carolina. Y'all do everything. Yeah, we love North Carolina. So, it's great. So, yeah, if you all want to take some more time on the house, look around if you have any questions, and then we can make our way back to the shuttles downtown.
I do want a group picture. This is a historic moment. And Tiffany, I got something for you.